Okay, can everyone see the letter up?
Hello?
Can everyone hear the letter or see us?
No, I can't see you.
All right, just 1 second. What about now? Can you all see the letter?
Yes, thank you.
No, I don't
Can
see
everyone
anything.
else see it? All right, thank you. Just 1 second.
Okay. So, can you all see it and be able to read it? Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Yes, can you read it? Yes.
All right. So, you must digest the content here because it's actual response. Hello, this is John Glover, an assistant to Professor Henry Gross, thanking you for your letter and apologies. I'm hoping that you have shared the Göttingen Gauss year 2005 celebration ranking of mathematicians with your colleagues. And if they understand what it means, they will be convinced they should have already covered GAGUT and the GAGUT G2j solution to the Riemann hypothesis over 20 years ago. So that's the response. You know, and some of the details that comes to God Almighty's grand unified theorem, nicknamed GAGUT, Gij, equal to 0, is a revelation from God to Professor Joe Yibo during 1990, which infallibly proved that all theorems, also called everything that exists, and all equations representing these equations, these theorems, past, present, and future, originate out of one invariant, Gi, which infallibly defines God, with orthogonal components Gij and a divergence, also called change, of Gij, j equal to 0. The proof of Gij, j equal to 0 was presented, as I had indicated earlier, at a symposium honoring Professor George Handelman, former head of mathematics department at Brown University during the March of 1995, and published in the proceedings of that symposium entitled Applied Mathematics Methods and Applications. Can you?
No, it's not a link. This is a copy.
Oh, okay.
I'll show that to you later.
Later, okay. The link is up, over there. As well as the Nova Journal of Mathematics, Game Theory, and Algebra, in a paper entitled Generalized Mathematical Proof of Einstein's Theory using a new group theory, where Professor Yibo proved that conservation, that is invariance of mass, is conformal invariant of conservation, which is another word for invariance, of energy, leading to the conclusion that mass is proportional to energy, with a constant of proportionality being c squared, where c is the speed of light. Professor Joe Yibo went further to prove also that conservation invariance of momentum is conformal invariant of conservation or invariance of mass, and by extension, conservation of or invariance of energy.
Sorry, this cursor won't get off.
I understand. Okay. Yeah, no, I've gone through it already. Okay. Convergence of, so of mass, and by extension, conservation invariance of energy. Professor Yibo, in the process, was able to prove that all equations and all theorems can be represented by one invariant Gij, and hence the divergence, which is change of that Gij, which is Gij comma j, must be 0, or Gij comma j equal to 0, which is the theorem. This is how God blessed Professor Yibo with the revelation that all theorems and all equations representing them can be represented by the grand unified universal invariant equation Gij comma j equal to 0. The only theorem and the only equation for all of mathematics defined gagotically as
Just one second.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a continuation from it.
As a study of theorems, gagotically mathematics is defined as a study of theorems. God also revealed to Professor Joe Yibo the general fundamental solutions of the grand unified universal theorem equation called God Almighty's grand unified theorem, GAGUT, Jij comma j equal to 0, which is given by eta sub n. That's what I'm doing on your screen, which is the gn sub nj x to power xj to power n plus 1. That's eta sub n, which can be seen in the following attachments, which are used to generate proofs to all theorems and solutions to all mathematics problems. So European Mathematical Society, this point you need to pay attention to. European Mathematical Society, EMS, has reviewed the paper entitled Generalized Mathematical Proof of Einstein's Theory using a new group theory by Professor Gio Yibo and publishing Applied Mathematics Methods and Applications. See Amazon link, okay? By selecting a mathematics legend, Professor Grigory Sagas, who has been credited to have made over 200 research contributions to mathematics. They selected him to review, the GAGUT. So, and he was the former president of the Balkan Society of Geometers. He was selected as a reviewer. Professor Grigory Sagas' review, which is enclosed as an attachment, verified GAGUT, and because of his very high reputation in mathematics, particularly in differential geometry, has generated a lot of respect for GAGUT amongst mathematicians, including Sir Professor Michael Atiyah, that you've heard about so much, you've seen his picture, a Cambridge University PhD in mathematics and former Master of Trinity College, Cambridge, who requested to get a copy of Professor Grigory Sagas' review of GAGUT when he was briefed on GAGUT by Professor John Glover. This is the one talking to you, that's right beside me here. During their meeting on November 3rd, 2010 at Stony Brook University, New York, USA, as well as Professor Iya Abubakar, another Cambridge PhD, another Cambridge University PhD in mathematics, who we consider to speak for Cambridge University, categorically declared GAGUT as a very big breakthrough and perfectly correct. That's an exact quote from him. As the one grand unified theorem that proves all theorems and solves all mathematics problems, including Riemann hypothesis. Professor E. Abubakar also, as a Nigerian senator, was the principal author, along with two of his colleagues in the Nigerian Senate, of a GAGUT Nigerian Senate motion, GSM number 151, enclosed in the attachment, and recognized GAGUT as the one grand unified theorem that proves all theorems and solves all mathematics problems, including Riemann hypothesis. That GAGUT Nigerian motion, GSM number 151, that was passed unanimously by the Nigerian Senate, recommended Professor Gabriel Audu Oyibo, the human being through whom God revealed GAGUT, for the highest academic prize in history, specified to supersede the Nobel Prize in Physics during 2005. The Nigerian government also issued a stamp, a postage stamp, in honor of GAGUT, with Professor G. Oyibo's picture on the stamp and recognized as mathematical genius, as an attachment. American Mathematical Society, AMS, also selected another mathematics legend, Professor Yom Koro, who we just found out recently that he has been a university president of his university, okay, an expert in differential geometry, to review GAGUT in the same paper, okay, in the same paper entitled Generalized Mathematical Proof of Einstein's Theory Using a New Group Theory by Professor G. Oyibo and published in the Nova Journal of Mathematics, Game Theory, and Algebra. It's enclosed in attachment. Professor Yom Koro verified GAGUT verbatim, okay, as can be seen in his review, enclosed as an attachment. The Nigerian government, using the Nigerian National University Commission, NNUC, also organized a 30-day global review of GAGUT in a global series of lectures from November 20th to December 20th, 2004, during which the whole world was invited to Nigeria to challenge GAGUT. And as an observer described the outcome of the global review of GAGUT, mathematicians and non-mathematicians challenged GAGUT ferociously for the 30 days. And when the dust settled, only GAGUT was left standing, according to that observer. Is everybody following?
Yes.
Good, good.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Very good. Okay. In other words, what you're hearing are facts that have been developed with regards to GAGUT, a summary of them anyway, for 25 years. And Jim Crow is still asking us for something that will convince the editorial board. That is what is ridiculous, obviously. That overwhelming verification of the infallibility of GAGUT globally, together with individual and other human groups' verification of GAGUT, led to the revolutionary reactions and responses globally. For example, on January 27, 2000, Professor Joe Oyibo and staff were invited by the Senate of the United States to brief the Science and Commerce Committee on GAGUT, headed by Senator John McCain. See a letter attachment enclosed. GAGUT was recommended for Nobel Prize and Presidential Medal of Science awards by some of the most distinguished mathematicians and physicists in the world. See attached for the recommendation letters. That include recommendation of the Presidential Medal of Science award by Massachusetts Institute of Technology through one of its most prestigious professors in the person of Professor John DeGangi of the Department of Aeronautics and Astronautics. This looks more right. Okay. So there were also recommendation letters for both Nobel and Presidential Medal of Science awards from Professor Edith Lutyens, who had a reputation for having reviewed Professor Albert Einstein's research papers for reputable research journals. Professor Lutyens, in her recommendation letters, recalled that Professor Gio Yibo took a course of complex variables, which she taught and earned the grade of A, as well as demonstrating extraordinary skills in complex variables and other branches of mathematics that hinted the faculty members that Professor Gio Yibo was going to have an illustrious career in mathematics, including complex variables, which is the basic branch of mathematics from which Riemann hypothesis originates. And so Professor Lutyens also was a student of Professor Richard Courant, one of the illustrious PhD students of Professor David Hilbert, who was number 3 on the Göttingen list, a successor of Professor Carl Friedrich Gauss, recognized as the greatest mathematician since antiquity before GAGUT, as head of the mathematics department of the King August George II University of Göttingen, where Hilbert supervised 69 PhDs in mathematics and earned a title of the last of the great mathematicians. Professor David Hilbert also had a reputation of being the first mathematician to recommend the Riemann hypothesis as the most important unsolved problem, solved mathematics problems in 1900, which is 100 years before Clay Math Institute was created. And because Professor Hilbert's listing / recommendation of the Riemann hypothesis never expired until 1990, when God revealed the GAGUT G2j solution to Riemann hypothesis through GAGUT infallibly. Yes, as can be seen in the video beginning around the 2 hours mark. Okay, and so on. That proves that Clay Mathematics Institute, that was created in 2000, had no business listing the Riemann hypothesis as an unsolved problem, since Riemann hypothesis had been solved infallibly 10 years earlier. I hope everybody is following. That it?
Is everyone following?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Can everyone still see the letter? Can everyone see the letter?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
What is this? The cut over there? The thing is acting up. Just give me a second. Okay. Just bear with us a second. Okay.
Okay. So, Clay Math Institute has fraudulently ignored the GAGUT G2j solution to the Riemann hypothesis, as well as the other 6 GIJ solutions to the so-called toughest Clay mathematics problems, which were all solved infallibly by GAGUT and verified by Professor George Gregory Sagers and Professor Yom Koro, as well as the American Mathematical Society, European Mathematical Society, and all the distinguished mathematicians. During the 2005 Gauss Year commemoration, Göttingen University selected 52 greatest works in mathematics and recommended that mathematicians and other professionals need to study each of those works for a specific week of that year, in which they recognize GAGUT as the greatest of the greatest mathematics works by recommending that GAGUT be studied during the 26th week, which is the center of the celebration, which is consistent with Göttingen recognizing of GAGUT as the grand unified theorem that proves all theorems and solves all mathematics problems, including Riemann hypothesis. Can you all follow?
Yes, Professor.
Okay. The runners-up for the week of 26, the week 26 includes works of successors to the 3 greatest mathematicians of all time before GAGUT, who were Gauss, Newton, and Euler. Sir Professor Michael Atiyah who was a successor to Sir Professor Isaac Newton as a master of the Trinity College, Cambridge University, and was also a field medalist, Nobel Prize equivalent in mathematics, had his work and 43 other field medalists' work ranked number 7 and recommended to be studied in the week of 19 of the year 2005. Professor Anatoly Fomenko was the successor to Professor Leonard Euler as head of mathematics department at Leningrad, Moscow State University. Leningrad, another name for Leningrad is St. Petersburg, okay, for those who do not know that history, okay, where Leonard Euler was the head of mathematics department. His work was ranked number 4 and recommended to be studied in the week of 23 of the year. Professor David Hilbert was a successor to Professor Carl Friedrich Gauss as head of mathematics department at Göttingen University. His work was ranked number 3 and recommended to be studied in the week of 24 of that year. So these are things that are embedded in the Göttingen ranking that BBC, you understand, is supposed to be not only familiar but know all that well, and is trying to pretend, okay? So the Göttingen document is a very powerful verification of the infallibility of GAGUT as the one grand unified theorem that proves all theorems and solves all mathematics problems, including Riemann hypothesis, but also compelling document for BBC and other media to cover rather than ignore GAGUT. Even though BBC, like any other media organization, has every right of ignoring the GAGUT revelation, but it won't be because GAGUT is a second-class news item compared with any other news item, particularly because world-class news organizations like People's Daily newspaper, the 5th largest newspaper in the world, have published an article on GAGUT verifying that GAGUT has been awarded the greatest academic prize in history for proving all theorems and solving all mathematics problems, including Riemann Hypothesis in 2006 by the African International Foundation. People's Daily also broadcasted the same article on their TV and radio stations and have a bigger audience than that of the BBC. And in the process proved that Claymath is a fraud and is engaged in plagiarizing the GAGUT revelation, particularly the GAGUT G2j solution to the Riemann hypothesis. Please see the People's Daily article link below. Okay? You got to hang on with me so that I can go over this very quickly. It also should be noted that at least one Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, Professor Karen Hunter.
Has everyone heard of Professor Karen Hunter? Has anyone heard Professor Karen Hunter in the audience?
No.
Anyone?
Yes.
You have heard of Professor Karen Hunter?
Yeah, she has a talk show.
Yes, that's the same, one and the same. She wrote an article on GAGUT back in 2004.
Okay. Okay, has done an article on GAGUT. Pulitzer Prize, as you know, is the highest award. I'm glad at least one of you has heard about Karen Hunter.
Yeah, I tried to get you on the show with her.
Uh-huh. Okay. The greatest award a journalist can win. See Pulitzer Prize winner Professor Karen Hunter article in attachment. It's also very hard to understand the logic of the BBC decision to ignore the recognition of GAGUT as the greatest mathematics work since antiquity by King August George II of England, University of Göttingen, making GAGUT #1 work recommended to be studied at week 26, the center of the Gauss year 2005 commemoration, which puts the BBC decision as a contradiction and a disrespecting of the spirit of the British royalty embedded in the Göttingen University decision. One can also see the BBC ignoring of the King August George II of England, University of Göttingen, recognition of GAGUT as the grand unified theorem that has proven all theorems and solved all mathematics problems, including Riemann hypothesis, in honor of Professor Carl Friedrich Gauss, recognized as the greatest mathematician since antiquity. Is a disrespecting of Professor Carl Friedrich Gauss and King August George II of England, University of Göttingen. The university that has been recognized as the headquarters of mathematics globally before GAGUT, which is hard to for us to believe that any mathematics advisors of the BBC editorial board would actually advise BBC to make such a decision, since such an advice will not only be considered wrong, but also irresponsible by any qualified mathematician. Therefore, the BBC editorial board's tenets of independence can lead to disasters and fraud if those tenets are based on dishonest, incompetent, or fraudulent experts' advice that disregards an infallible truth like GAGUT. We can give you a couple of evidences of GAGUT infallibility. One, the only reason 2 + 1, is everybody following?
Is everyone following out there?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, they're getting a spanking now.
Okay. The only reason 2 plus 1 is equal to 3 is because it satisfies the GAGUT equation, Gij, comma j equal to 0, where Gij is 2 plus 1 minus 3 is equal to 0. That's called, which says that Gij is an invariant because 0 is an invariant. Therefore, the change in that invariant defined as Gij must be 0, since the Gij is 0. Therefore, you or anybody else, whether you are mathematicians or non-mathematicians, can see that 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, and similarly would have a Gij which is 2 plus 3 minus 5 is equal to 0, and a Gij, comma j equal to 0. And any other correct addition operation can only be possible because each of those operations will have a GAGUT invariant Gij equal to 0, and hence satisfy the GAGUT equation Gij, comma j equal to 0. On the basis of examples that have been shown above, one can easily see the only way GAGUT can be wrong is if 2 plus 1 is not equal to 3, and that all additions that we know to be correct are all wrong, which is obviously impossible, and hence any expert advice that discredits GAGUT is either a fraud or a huge incompetence. This is trying to help BBC to really understand the shabbiness and the lack of honesty and lack of sincerity in their position on things. So
Professor,
we are also
the BBC, they should have never even acknowledged you or even tried to correspond with you, because they just showed their lack of not even understanding war. Because by them even responding to you, they're leaving a big paper trail. So now they have to celebrate GAGUT. They shouldn't even have touched you. They should have just kept ignoring you, because now they're leaving themselves open. They messed up by even saying anything, and that just shows your foresight by being able to be patient and waiting for them to make a mistake like they just did now.
Yes, but you know what is even more important is, that's why I'm reading it for you. I like this to sink into your psyche, into your soul, so you can become energized. See, this is happening only because you are in a position where you just getting back up from the slump of acting for 2,500 years. That's really what's happening. So God is infusing this so you could become energized and then begin to take action. Because you can believe in me, just the few of you that are listening can take on BBC, but more proactively, the terrorism that is happening now, community like the black colleges, that's what we were discussing before, you'll be in a better position. There's no reason why black people couldn't raise all the funding the black colleges need. Absolutely no reason. Okay? In that way, you eliminate the interruption and the interception by Jim Crow in order to control those universities. First of all, they were set up. The only one that was really set up by a black person is Tuskegee, as far as I know. Do you all know that?
Exactly.
Yes, Professor.
Yeah. Do all of you know that of the black colleges, the only one that was really set up by black people originally was Tuskegee? Did you know that?
No, now. Did not know before.
Yes. As far as I recall, as far as I know, only Tuskegee was founded by Booker T. Washington, and of course with assistance from uh,
Professor George Washington.
Professor George Washington Carver. And then it wasn't too long before that was stolen. You go there today and you see the kind of, thumbing that is going on over there, you'll be appalled. And now we will hear the leadership, the administration has been taken over by non-blacks. This is what is being attempted with GAGUT. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Can everybody see that?
Yes, Professor.
Yes.
This point is extremely
Yes.
going over this is because they're trying to repeat what happened with Tuskegee. Tuskegee was actually an establishment of the Timbuktu on the American continent. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you all understand?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Timbuktu was re-established by Professor Booker T. Washington with assistant of Professor Carver. And they made sure they minimize or refuse any funding from Jim Crow so as to maintain a real independence. Professor Carver was said to be going on the dumping sites to pick up the Bunsen burners, used busted Bunsen burners, and test tubes to conduct his experiments because he refused to take money from Jim Crow. So the goal was to make sure they are independent. But it wasn't too long when Jim Crow took it over, which is what is being attempted with Opemi Enoch. Therefore, you should take this extremely seriously. And part of the demands has to be that every black university must learn GAGUT. Otherwise, they stop calling themselves black schools.
Sort of like Essence and Ebony and Jet right now. There were black magazines by the Johnson Company, but now they're all owned by Viacom and white other companies.
Exactly. That must end. And this is the time for you to make that statement very loud and clear, because now, but you must wear your GAGUT shirts. You understand? You wear your GAGUT shirt and take on the, because you saw how God used me in dealing with this. This thing for 20, nobody thought it was going to last one quick second. But it's still here after 25 years. Do you understand? So if God can use me, God can use you, but you must submit with the Creator. Do you all understand that?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
This
Ms.
is
Blake, do you understand?
Yes, thank you.
No, I was asking Ms. Blake. Ms. Blake, can you hear us? I don't know what happened, if she can hear us or not. Can you hear us, Ms. Blake?
She's probably asleep. It's about 3 o'clock over there.
yeah.